Hey crafters, welcome to Paulette's Pretty Paper Crafts. I'm a little bit late with May 2015 name tag. We're going to do something a little bit different this month. I'm going to do watercolor pencils. And I would recommend just do whatever you have on hand. I have these gallery watercolor pencils that came in a wooden, almost like a little briefcase. One of the grandmas bought this for one of the kids, and oh my gosh, my kids are like 25 and 30. So anyway, I've just got these things, and I've done one card. I did John's birthday last year with these, and it turned out okay. So that's what we're going to use. I've just pulled out a handful of colors, and because you can't always see what I'm doing the way I've got my camera mounted above my work surface, I've already colored one just so you can kind of get an idea, and I'm just going to leave it out here while I work on this other one. It's also going to give me a good reference to what colors and where I'm putting them down. I have stamped with this really funny stamp set, just these ladies, and I thought it would be fun just to kind of spotlight that lady in the middle. And this is a new to me stamp set. It's an Art Impressions, and this one is called Live-Laugh-Love AiCS15. And I'm using this image with the three ladies. My mom is in so many activities with her friends, and so I've been trying to purchase these now and then, and just stamped the top portion, inked the top portion of this with some Stampin'UP Crumb Cake. And I've already stamped these because they were really hard to stamp. It's hard for me to get up under my iPad and stamp, so I've already done this. And I used my Martha Stewart foot press. I'll grab it real quick here. This one with the feet on it that works really good for clear stamps, and just mounted that stamp and centered it here just so that lady's in the middle and we can highlight her. The Stampin' Up! Water-based dye ink is just going to kind of disappear when we add the water as well. Now some of my pencils are kind of dull, but that's okay. We're just gonna roll on. You know, I bought a pencil sharpener, and it's lost here somewhere on my desk. A little battery operated pencil sharpener, and it doesn't work good on colored pencils. I think the wood in them is much tougher. It's a more dense wood than like a number 2 pencil. It sharpens regular pencils fine, but not this. So I'll have to invest in a better pencil sharpener. We're also going to use this little kind of alphabet stamp. This was from the Paper Studio, and it was called Sophie Alphas. I love that it has lots of consonants and lots of vowels. I can spell whatever I'm spelling and not have to double, go back and re-stamp letters. And then I'm also using this Close to My Heart Express Postage. And this is where I got the month and also the numbers for the 2015. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get down to that. I'm also going to do all of that black stamping with the Ranger Archival Jet Black ink. And I've already got those stamps mounted, so let's just kind of get started. I pulled out just some colors that I thought would work. And let's start with the hair. I've got a yellow and 2 browns. I've got a really dark brown and then kind of a muddy brown. And we're going to start with the yellow because I am not very good at doing hair, coloring hair. And so I'm going to put my highlights in first, which is just in between all of the dark lines. And then when we add water, it will magically blend that. And let's go ahead and do these really big earrings. And I'm just outlining. You can just barely see that one in the back. Let's take this really dark brown next and just follow the lines that are here from the stamp for this part of her hairdo. And I'm sticking to my tag. We'll talk about the paint brushes in a minute. I'm going to say use what you have and don't worry too much about it. So there's the dark brown, and then we're going to take this muddy brown and just kind of go on each side of the dark brown lines. And again, when we add the water to this, it's just going to, we need to put a little bit down here, and I missed a spot with the dark brown, so I'm going to grab it again. This little part right here next to her face. And because that line wasn't there, I didn't use this muddy brown. Just kind of flanking, you know, where there was room to put that in there. So there's her hair. Let's go ahead and do her eyeglasses. I've got this really light blue, and I gotta tell you, these, I was gonna say markers, they actually had another color here which kind of indicated whether they were a pastel or a bright or an earth tone, and you know, those kind of got to confusing me, so I just have to go by the colors on the end. So I've got this really light blue, and it's what we're going to outline her glasses with. Okay, let's go ahead and do her face. Now this really was a good sized, let me just show you really quick. Here's a little briefcase that these colors are in, and there is just a really nice variety. There are pencils lined up on both sides of this. There were even some paint brushes and a little water, kind of water well. There are just a lot of nice tones. This was the only Caucasian tone that I could find in the set. There's lots of lovely golden tones and brown tones if you have darker skin complexion. But this was the only Caucasian one, and it really looks pink on the pencil, but we're just going to draw in the eyebrows, the eyes. Her eyes are shut. The nose. She's got some laugh lines here just around the chin, and just outline all of that. And get this ear. This ear is showing here. And then we also need to do her hand, which is kind of sticking up there while she's laughing. Okay. Let's do her scarf. I'm going to use, am I going to use the same blue? I guess, no, I'm not. This light blue was what we used for the eyes. I'm going to use this kind of dark blue and this kind of tealish blue. So let's start with this really dark one. And we're just going to outline her scarf. And again, just following these lines that the stamp artist has already put down for us, and I didn't quite bring that one far enough. And then we're going to take, this is almost kind of a teal blue, but I thought it might be a nice contrast or a nice highlight to her scarf. And then her shirt is going to be green. So I've got two greens. I've got just a really dark, almost olive green, and then a lighter green. We're going to use the dark green to outline her shirt and just follow the lines of the stamp. Nothing fancy. Her shoulders back here. And I'm going to, because you know there would be a shadow kind of right here between her and the next lady. So right along there, and then her blouse drapes along here. And yeah, that's good. And then we're going to take this lighter green and scruff in some around the neckline here. And then just kind of along the edges and a little bit under those other lines that are part of the stamp. I'm going to take just a black and do her pants in black and just follow the lines of the stamp. And then I drew in a little bit, her knees would be right there. And then just a couple marks here on the outside of the legs so that when we go to blend, that just blends a little bit more. And then I have this, it looks pink on the pencil, but it's really kind of a bright, kind of pinky red, which I'm going to use for her lipstick. And now we are ready to add water. So I'm going to lay this one aside. I've got two paintbrushes. I've got a number 3. And this is, it says a round. And then I've got a Westwater 000. This is a very fine point. We're going to use that one on her mouth. But I'm going to use this other one for the rest of her. So I brought my paper towel up here, and maybe I'll rearrange things a little bit because I'm right-handed. Just so I can show you, I don't want a ton of water. So I've got dripping water on here, and I'm just going to lay that down and let it take most of the water. And then just start swirling here in the hair. And if you ever feel like you've got too much color, you can wipe it off on your paper towel, rinse, and do that again. Let's dilute this down here a little bit. And I need to pull that down just a smidge. And if you need to pull color out, you can. You can pull a little bit of that brown out so that blonde shows a little bit more. Now, one of the keys to doing any watercolor is that you don't touch the very next area next to the area you just finished. I can do her glasses because they are not touching the hair. So go ahead and dilute those. Then I'm going to rinse, and we're going to drop down and do the scarf. These are quite fun. I think the watercolor crayons would be really fun too. Someday I'm going to try the Gamsol too. Okay. Now we've done the scarf. Let's go ahead and drop down and do the pants. And this black is going to be strong, so I may have to rinse in between here. Go ahead and get rid of some of that. I didn't want this to be super dark. I just wanted a little hint of color. I'm going to swipe out a little bit of that color on the side here where and that didn't quite blend super nicely. Okay. Let's go ahead and do her face. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse and really wash my brush off because we used the black. Dip it in, and then I'm going to dab off again. And I did not give her any blush. I probably could have. I feel like I've run out of water, so I'm going to rinse my brush and try not to get into her lipstick. And just keep swirling here until that's blended out. some of that. That really goes on quite. I got her eyebrows a little heavy too. Maybe I better do over them just a little bit more. Okay. Let's go ahead and do her hand. Really just coming right down the fingers there. Swirl a little bit. And just take out, I'm going to take out a little bit in the palm of her hand there. Okay. Let's go ahead and work on her shirt. And I'm just swirling. Get into that dark pencil. And I rinsed my brush and just going to come in here and kind of swipe out some of the color in these areas where I think there would be a little bit more highlight. Okay, I forgot to do her sleeves, so better get in there and do that. And same thing, I'm just taking a little bit of that color away. And really, there's just not much. I'm going to go ahead and dilute this earring. Just touch it. There's just not a whole lot there. And then I'm going to take this very tiny brush, just really dip it in the water, and I'm smacking it on my my water jar, and I'm just drag that along to kind of get it back down to a nice little fine point, and just barely bring that lipstick to life there. So pretty good. I've got a little bit of what do you call that? A bloom, which I really don't care for. I'm going to try to rinse that off of her knee. It's where you've got too much water and it moves the color. I really don't like the bloom, so just kind of scruff that out, and you could even touch it a little bit with your finger. Okay. Now I'm going to swish this just in the air a little bit before we do our stamping. And we can get rid of this paper towel. And I've got my mom word mounted here. And just going to stamp that right over her. And then I've got May. I chose this this other little set. Usually we stamp with that big blocky set, and I just thought it would overpower or compete with the mom word, so I chose this really little set, and then that felt unbalanced to me, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp the 2015 in that other corner. And then as one last thing, I'm going to take my Aqua Painter. My poor little Aqua Painter is gotten really scruffy looking, and I want to give it a haircut, but that does not ever work out really well for me. When I give my paintbrushes a haircut, it pretty much ruins them. So I'm going to turn this upside down and just dilute, because we used that Stampin' Up water-based dye ink. I'm just going to dilute these other ladies. I probably could have skipped that step, but just to help push them into the background and let this lady in the center shine, I went ahead and diluted these ladies. That's one of the things I love about the Stampin' Up! Water-based dye inks is, you know, I used them for watercolor for the longest time before I ever bought any stamp pads. And I'm just going to go ahead and blend that all the way up. And that completes our name tag. So there we go. Pretty cute. I don't know what I'll do for the dads. I actually do have another Art Impression stamp set that has a man on it, so I may use him. So if you have any questions, be sure and let me know. I hope you guys all had a lovely Mother's Day. I sure did. Thanks for joining me.